Like,
Namaste. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Disha Bharat, I welcome you all to today's lecture. After completion of 4 wonderful years, Disha Bharat is in the fifth edition of its My Bharat campaign. In the Ramayana, Hanuman, unaware of his true potential to cross the ocean in search of Sita, was awakened by the inspiring words of Jambavan. Similarly, Disha Bharat, an NGO established in 2005, is inspiring the youth of Bharat to awaken their true potential. Disha Bharat conducts personality development programs under the theme Know Your Country, Know Your Culture, and Know Yourself to unleash the hidden potential of the students. These workshops aim to enhance 5 aspects of personality, that is, physical, emotional, intellectual, social, and spiritual. Through activity based workshops, students build self confidence, unlock their inner strength, and emerge as contributors to the process of nation building. With this, I would like to introduce today's resource person, Professor Dr. Shobhit Mathur, co founder and Vice Chancellor, Rishiwood University. We welcome you to the program, sir.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you. Shobhit Mathur works at the intersection of higher education, technology, and social impact with a mission to reinvent higher education and contribute to nation building. He embodies the spirit of the disruptive academic social entrepreneur. Sir has done his BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Bombay in 2004. He has completed his MS in Computer Science and Engineering from the University of Washington. He has an MBA from the Indian School of Business with a focus on entrepreneurship and public policy. He also holds a PhD from OP Zindal Global University on addressing the entrepreneurship and addressing delays in Indian district courts. Sir has also worked in many other platforms like Amazon.com. He has played a pivotal role in Amazon's transition from an e-commerce to a technology company. In association with Youth for Seva, he has spearheaded a national movement to engage youth in societal transformation through volunteering. And he has also co-founded Vision India Foundation with an initiative to involve bright and young minds in policy making and governance. He has conceptualized and established a revolutionary higher education institution, that is Rishiwood University, and currently is serving as the Vice Chancellor of the university. Shobhit Mathur's journey exemplifies the power of combining technological expertise, social consciousness, and academic innovation to drive a meaningful change in society and higher education. Sir, we heartily welcome you to Disha Bharat Parivar.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before beginning the session, few instructions for the audience. We have left open our chat box below. Please leave any questions that you have while the session continues. Now, I request Shobhit Mathur sir to address our volunteers on the topic Timeless Wisdom, Integrating Ancient Teachings to Modern Education. Over to you, sir.
Namaste. Thank you, ma'am, for this kind introduction and describing a bit about my background. So I am very young and I'm sure there are many more senior people in the audience. So I'll try to do my humble best in presenting my thoughts. I know the topic is on the ancient teachings in modern education, but I have kind of made a slight change on the topic, which I felt is related, but is also more inspiring in the sense that it is something very unique. What I've tried to do is speak about the Rishihood model. So what this I'm trying to say is how can we build universities that are inspired by our ancient wisdom or particularly by the Gurukula system. So we have heard of the Gurukula system. We are all very inspired by it, that there is something so fascinating that this land had, where the highest form of education was provided at such a low cost, accessible, and it took India to great heights. So what has happened to them? So this is the focus of my talk, and I think it will be very interesting to see how they could be adapted to the modern times. And then I'll take some questions towards the end. So I'll keep a brief presentation which will tell us how we are thinking about it. So, ma'am was saying a bit about Rishihood University. So, that's the name Rishihood itself comes from that idea of the Gurukul system. And this word has been used by only one person so far. And that person is Swami Vivekananda. He said it's like motherhood and childhood. He believes that the final state or the highest form of human achievement is rishihood, to be in the state of a rishi. So we thought that's a very apt name for our university, because it gives a direction to everyone that we are here to study so that we can reach rishihood in our life. So that is the thought that comes in why we have chosen this word behind and to name the university. So I'll move on. The first thing that I want to say is there is the Gurukul system of education is very well known, right? But the colonization that happened, a lot of the schools, we all know that they have been taken down by our colonizers. Post independence, there have been some attempts to revive them, but all the attempts have happened primarily in the K-12 or the schooling system primarily, right? So that is where the attempts to recreate the Gurukul system or the ones that are continuing have been adapting to do that. But nobody has so far spoken about how Gurukul system can be adapted for a university setup. So Rishihood University is an attempt. I'm not saying that we are a Gurukul system, but what I'm trying to say is what are those principles that we can learn from that system and bring it into a higher education modern setup. That is what we are trying to do. Okay, so I'll talk about the design and how the design is inspired by the Gurukul system. First of all, it's a 100% residential campus. This is a very, very important point, because you will not find university campuses that are residential primarily. Mostly the central government institutions, some very elite private institutions are residential, but many institutions otherwise are day scholar based. So students come in the day, attend classes, go back home. Now, when we thought of Rishihood, we were very keen that it should be fully residential. So anybody who is local or from anywhere in the country or the world, everybody stays together. But it's a very, very bold decision. It's easy to say, but it's very bold and very difficult to do, because suddenly the costs on the campus go up a lot, because we have to build residential facilities for everyone, all faculty, staff, students, everyone, right? So that is very, very important. Secondly, adds the cost of the education as well, because all these things come on to them. So this is very important, but we have chosen to go in the Gurukul model that is fully residential campus, and I hope more universities attempt this and take this step. Secondly, and very important point is it is socially funded. It's crowd funded. It is funded by the people. Most universities today are funded by one person or one business house, one politician, one industrialist, right? But the Gurukul system was always collectively funded. It was funded by the people, not by the government, not by a single individual, but by the society themselves were funding it, right? So there was support by the state, I agree, but it was primarily driven by societal funding. So this is what we have thought about and brought it at Rishihood as well, that society will contribute to building it and society will be running it. I'll tell you how. Third thing is, most university campuses in the country today are disconnected from their communities. So you build very tall walls, you do some research and teaching inside. Just outside the campus, there could be a slum or there could be a village. There could be many other issues happening just outside the campus, but the university doesn't influence that, doesn't create any change in their lives. So when we thought we will build Rishihood, we will want to go back to the Gurukul system, which was integrated with the people. The people, you all know this, right? The food would come from outside. The people would go out to change people's lives, right? You know the famous Takshashila that was there that actually fought a war against Alexander, right? So this is, universities should not build walls. Universities should be porous. They should interact with the communities around them, just like our Gurukula system was. So this is three primarily institutional design principles, if I can say that, that we have tried to incorporate at Rishihood. This is a artist's impression when the full campus of Rishihood will be ready. It's broadly there. So this is a fully residential campus. I wanted to show how it looks like. Then this is the board of founders. This is very, very important and interesting. The way I said it is socially contributed and socially built, right? I mean, by the money and the people who are involved in running it. Now, the board of founders is not only philanthropists, not only people who can give money. Globally, that is the standard. Even if you build with society's money, you build it with philanthropists. But here you will see in the front, I mean, top, you will see there's a person by name Chandra Prakash Dwivedi. He is the person who played the role of Chanakya, right? And he was a director and actor in that. So he's an artist. There's Chinmay Pandya, who is, leads the Gayatri Parivar. And there's Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya in Haridwar. He's the pro vice chancellor of that. So he's come from spiritual background. Then you see a Kanubhai Taylor. He's a Padma Shri. He works with the people with disabilities. So he's a social worker. Then you on the bottom right, you will see Gaurang Prabhu from ISKCON, right? He is in the global board of ISKCON. So there are people who have come from a socio, spiritual, and cultural background who are a part of this. Because we are always imagining that Rishihood should create an impact on society. So having such people a part of the board helps us. Otherwise, when the boards are only people of a business background, the university might take a very, in the sense that a very commercial, in the sense, turn. There should be somebody to balance that perspective and keep reminding the board that we have a social responsibility towards our society and the nation as well. So the board of founders is very interestingly founded. Again, comes back from the principles of the Gurukul system, where society and different people of society come together to build schools. Okay. Now, how is the educational design at Rishihood inspired by our Gurukul system? I would want to talk a bit about that. And maybe there are some principles here where others can also learn from. First of all, when we say the Gurukul system, now, NEP and all, we talk a lot about multidisciplinary education, right? Like, for example, this whole 64 Kala, 64 Kalas were taught in the Gurukuls. So different, it is in that sense, you would not study specific disciplines in depth. Everything was combined and you would learn from different disciplines together. How do we bring this into our modern university education? There's something called a combination of majors and minors. It is a very new concept in India. Few universities are attempting it. So what does it mean? Typically, when I studied at IIT Bombay, I chose computer science. I only studied computer science. I did a little bit of humanities here and there, but that was just to fill my credits. But I never got an opportunity. Like, for example, I was very much interested in chemistry, but I never got a chance to go and study chemistry. There are many others who are interested in entrepreneurship, right? They want to go and study business school, but they don't have an opportunity to do that. So, can you combine different disciplines and create your degree? This possibility was not there. Even today, it's not there in any universities. Very few have them. So this is again inspired by the Gurukul system, because to be a problem solver, if you go and actually work for society, you can't only work with one discipline. So if you want to set up a non-profit and work, you will have to have a good understanding of social work, sociology. You will have to understand a bit of history. You will have to possibly understand a bit of, politics, right? You will have to understand so many other disciplines you have to make any change in society. Even if you have to be a good tech entrepreneur, you will need to understand many different things to do this. So can we combine majors and minors and create a multidisciplinary education? That is what we have at Rishihood. Second thing I want to say is spiritual practice at Rishihood is integrated into the curriculum. It is not an extracurricular or an optional. It is a part of the core curriculum where it's given credits. Everybody has to do it. It's in fact given 6 full credits. I'll come to that. And to drive that, we have a guru on campus. So we call them a life and spiritual coach, a full-time guru staying on campus. So this is very, very important, because usually when we think of universities, we only think of faculty with PhDs who are academics who can teach. Now you want to also have people who come from the traditional wisdom, and they should be given space on campus, right? They should be given the equal and higher importance than other faculty. So we have a life and spiritual coach on campus who teaches, initiates all students into a spiritual practice. That's a part of their curriculum. So again, this comes from our Gurukul system that always had it. And 3 attributes. What are the character traits that students who graduated from the Gurukul system, if you can reflect back, read, you'll understand One is jigyasa, it's called. Jigyasa is curiosity, always that willingness to ask questions and learn, which is lost in the modern system. Second thing is called chikirsha. Chikirsha is a bias for action. You can't only intellectualize and keep asking questions, but you should also be solving problems. That knowledge should be used for society's benefit. That is, you should always feel like acting on the knowledge, not only think and intellectualize. And third thing is having joy. Okay, you should be a joyful person. Now you'll see that these three attributes today are missing in our education system, both in the schooling system as well in higher education. Curiosity is gone. Any form of physical action to solve problems is gone. And third thing is there is no joy. Students are struggling to go to schools, come back as very sad people, right? Everybody wants to avoid school. They're very happy when a holiday is announced. So how do we bring this back as the Gurukul system? This is why we have chosen these attributes at Rishiud as well. I'll tell you how we are achieving that. This is our life and spiritual coach on campus. His name is Paroksh Zada. So he is a person who meets students in informal setups, talks to them, stays on campus. His only mandate is he has to keep meeting all the students all the time and have giving them advice, understand their problems, right? Guide them, counsel them. And he, of course, conducts a lot of academic courses related to yoga, meditation, pranayama, travel to spiritual places. He conducts such courses. So we are having a full-time guru on campus who's institutionalized and he's given a lot of importance. This is one person that we have thought that I mentioned to you about how we are bringing back the gurus into our academic setup. And there are such this is like the yoga nidra thing that's happening, that post lunch sessions you have this because the academic schedules are very busy, so he conducts such yoga classes as well. Okay. I'll move on. Then there is the learning model, how we are achieving these jigyasa, chikirsha and anand. I want to come to that. So the jigyasa, how to instill curiosity, the way we train our faculty, and this again comes from the Gurukul system, is you don't just come and teach, you give them the purpose of that, why you have to learn these things, right? So for example, I can teach about air pressure, atmosphere, weather patterns, but I have to tell them that there is a larger problem of air pollution that we are trying to work. There's a larger problem of climate change, hence we have to study these subjects. So we always inspire our faculty that you should first present to them the overall reason for their education and then teach them if they have to teach anything. And you never explain to them first. You first ask them to experience something and then you explain, right? So you take them on possibly some practical lessons first. Let the curiosity come in their mind. Let them ask questions from that experience and then you explain. So it's called experience before explanation. And the third thing that we call is heritage before horizon. What does it mean? We can keep talking about the future, we can keep talking about what's happening, but India is the only living civilization in the world. We have a thousands of years of heritage, a knowledge heritage, a spiritual heritage, cultural heritage. We should not forget our heritage. We should not forget where we came from. So before we speak about the future, we should also understand where we have come from. So these three things, the way we teach in our classroom, it's that is what instills jigyasa. Chikirsha, or the bias for action. There's a Rishiud Foundation program. I'll talk to you about that in very soon. And everything is outcome based. You don't learn theoretical concepts. Your assessments are done based on the outcomes that you deliver in terms of your projects, in terms of the external work, community work that you do, in terms of what you go outside to other campuses and participate in events and competitions. So assessments are done based on the outcomes from your learning. You have to do projects, internships out of it. That is how we create a bias for action. In fact, internship is integrated as a full six month program within the program, which is very rare. Usually internships are limited to summer breaks. So for us, it is a core part of the curriculum. It is an entire semester dedicated to internship, which is very, very important. That creates an action orientation in people. Okay. And in the Anandam, or the creating the joy, we have a lot of courses that create joy, which includes community engagement, sports, pottery, needlework, a lot of different things that we have brought in. Okay. So the foundation program, which is what is the core of Rishihood in many ways, it's offered in the first year. It is 360 hours of training, 6 courses, and all students have to undergo these 6 courses together. It happens in the first year. It creates the foundation for their learning. Okay. The first course is self and society. If you want to ask what is the learning outcome of this, it is understanding your swabhava and swadharma. So we are located in the land of where the Mahabharata and the Kurukshetra war happened, and the Bhagavad Gita says about swabhava and swadharma. Who am I? What is my purpose? That has to be understood in the first course that is offered when you come into Rishur. It's called the Self and Society course. Then you have understanding India. You have to understand your entire heritage, what I mentioned earlier. Then you have to understand the global context. What's happening globally? If you don't know what are the challenges that the world is facing, what is the purpose of your education? So these 3 courses together will give you the context that who am I? What is my purpose? What is my history? Why India is a great civilization, feeling that pride? What is the globe struggling with? What is the whole world struggling with? Then in the next semester, we have systems thinking. Systems thinking is how everything in this world is connected. If I have to solve a problem, I have to think from a 360-degree perspective and then address the problem. I cannot be solving one part of it. So, how to think, right? Then principles of design is how do I design a solution? Once I know how the problem is interconnected, I know the context, how do I design a solution? And the last thing is how do I use technology to make this a public policy? What do we mean? Any solution that comes out should not remain local. It should get into the government system and then change the lives of millions of people for generations to come. So if you understand this, right from understanding yourself to how to create solutions that can solve the problems for generations for the entire country, this is how the Rishihood Foundation program is designed. It goes through 360 hours in the first year. I'll show you some pictures of it. This is in the Self and Society course. This is how we have designed it. It's a screenshot of what happened recently. The yoga is integrated, pranayama and understanding yourself, reflecting yourself, reading, all this is a part of that. And then we take them to not just teach them about understanding India, take them on a what we call a soul trek. So this is from Haridwar. So Haridwar is very close to where we are. So we go there and then we immerse ourselves into the spiritual life there, understand people who have come from across the country, understand how India thinks. So all this is a part of what we are doing. So these are the ways that we are broadly bringing in the Gurukula system, if you can call that, into a modern educational setup. Okay. I will stop here and I will take any questions that you may all have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for enlightening us with your wisdom and letting us know the different ways of learning things. We have a few questions from our audience that I have. I'll just read it out to you so that you can answer it one by one. First question. What are the few practical ways of integrating ancient values and ethics in the modern system of education?
Okay. So that's a good question. And that was also the topic of the webinar that we are doing. See, we will have to place ourselves. See, how should I say this? What typically schools and colleges try to do is they will say, we will teach you Indian history, we will teach you culture courses, we will teach you morals and values. That is all taught as a subject. That, in my experience and what I have understood from education, that doesn't work very well, because what happens is it is just one more course that you have to pass and clear. What we are trying to do at Rishihood is we are trying to tell you why all this is very important. So, for example, let me take it in a easier way that maybe the Prime Minister is negotiating some very important trade deal. For example, currently they are negotiating with the United Kingdom something called a free trade agreement, right? How trade between the two countries should happen. So what do we do? We will study all the modern trade policies and different ways of negotiation, and then we will apply that, right? The Prime Minister will apply that. But at the same time, somebody is being taught Kautilya's Arthashastra, where there is something called Samadhana Veda Danda, right? So that is also taught. Now, the problem is we have not taught this Indian knowledge on how to solve this global problem. Okay. So this is very important. You'll have to take a problem, you will have to teach using the Western methods and say how those methods are incomplete and they will not solve the problem. Then you will have to ask the student what are the other ways of doing. The student will naturally start thinking, sir, first we will negotiate using Sama. Then we will try to allure them by giving them something, that is dana. Then we will try to maybe create some type of differences between our opponents, that is bheda. Then we will possibly try to even use force, that is danda, right? So let the student be given a problem statement. Let them think what are the modern ways of doing it, why they fall short. And then you introduce to them that the Indian knowledge is more complete and can address this big problem. That is a better way of teaching than teaching different theories of negotiation, right? An Indian theory, a Western theory. You have to synthesize them and you have to teach them in a very different way. That is more appreciated and that is more that sticks in your mind. So this is how we have thought about integrating Indian wisdom into current education.
Thank you, sir. Like in general, how can we integrate ancient wisdom in today's education?
Hmm.
Uh,
So can you be more specific about it? So see, what I'm trying to say is we should not teach ancient education just as a subject. What I'm trying to say is you should give the context. What are the challenges of the country, of society, of the world, and then bring up our models of education into it. I just talked to you about a very high level problem like some trade negotiation. For example, now you just take about COVID. Now, COVID has been a big problem, right? So all of us have gone through it. So you don't just teach Ayurveda, for example. If you teach Ayurveda, it will not be appreciated as much. You should say, okay, there is this big global health crisis. Everybody's immunity is dropping. Now, how do you solve this problem? Now, there will be somebody who will say, let's take some pills to increase our immunity, right? Then that will not work because the poor people cannot afford all these things, right? The spills might not be in our control. There will be some problems. Somebody will say that, can we think of building our own home remedies? Then you say in the classroom that, oh, that is the reason Ayurveda exists, right? So your grandmother and your mother, that is what they were giving you all these years to build your immunity while you were drinking some zinc syrup, right? So what I'm saying is give them a problem, let them think, let them realize that the world doesn't have a solution and then you propose your solution to them, okay, in the form of Indian knowledge like Kautilya's Arthashastra, Ayurveda, right? Or you want to bring in Vedic mathematics, or you want to bring in any other subject. You have to bring it in a way that can address people's problems. That is very, very appreciated by our students. Yeah.
so, thank you. We have so many questions flowing in. I'll take the second question. In a context where traditional wisdom is often criticized as being politically influenced, how can the education system be encouraged to recognize the importance of Indian knowledge system?
Okay.
That is the question.
That's a good question. See, whenever you use any Indian knowledge, maybe in some campuses that are there, it is seen as political. Oh, you are from this party, and that is why you're promoting all this. This doesn't have any use. That being said, I still think there is a lot of awareness and pride in India today. So, which was not there maybe 10 years back or even 15 years back. Now that has increased a lot. People are curious to know. I think first thing is how are we delivering that? So I gave you an example of how we are delivering that without diluting the content, right? But it being presented in a very, I should say, problem solving, future shaping. What people don't appreciate as much is if you talk about our knowledge and say we are great, we were great, this is not accepted very easily. Okay, sir, you may say that we are great or we were great, right? But what about the future? The rest of the world is going ahead of us, right? So, how are we going to use all this knowledge to do better? So, we will have to present our knowledge in a way that is forming the future. It is something that can influence the world. It is something that the world doesn't have, and we have the solution. So, it has to be presented that way. So I'm saying, yes, you will be tagged as being political and all that. But despite that, if you present it in a very good way, there's a lot of acceptance for it today. So I see it, I think that also needs us to do a lot of research. We ourselves have not read a lot of Indian knowledge, right? We are only parroting what we hear from others, or we'll read, see a little bit of videos, and we start talking about the same thing, right? So I'll give you another example. For we all talk about Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda has talked about practical Vedanta and all this. What is Vedanta saying? The entire world is one. I mean, the whole creation is unified, right? In that sense, we are all interconnected. Now, that is what any climate change person is saying, right? If you do something wrong if you just burn the stubble in Punjab, Delhi gets polluted. Delhi gets polluted, somebody gets asthma, something else happens to their children, right? So this entire world is interconnected by one simple thing, right? So if you present this thing that, oh, this was thought in the past that everything is interconnected, it is the way we have to present, and we have to present it to the biggest problems that the world is facing. That is the way I see it. The first thing I do going to the class is I'll tell them to think about all the big problems that they can think of, right? So they will say, primarily, what will they say? They'll say climate change. They will say depression. Depression is an epidemic. Everybody is now getting depression. People will talk about health, primarily sugar, BP, non-communicable, right? Lifestyle problems. Then people will talk about other things. Sir, phone addiction, sir, this, sir, all that things, right? Then I will say, why doesn't anybody have a solution to this problem? Everybody knows this problem is there. Then I will try to produce our solution saying, this is what we have done. See, health problems are solved through Ayurveda, yoga, meditation. Climate change problems are solved through thinking like in the Vedantic perspective, right? This can be taught. So we'll have to study. And then they will say, sir, this is very exciting because now we know that with this knowledge, we can change the world, right? So I think that is how we have to present our knowledge to the world.
Oh, thank you. I have one more question for you. In the era of AI, where information is readily accessible, how crucial is it to establish Guru Positioning System, GPS? And what methods can be used to help learners recognize the significance of seeking guidance from a guru?
Very interesting question. See, AI, there is no discussion today that happens without AI. And I think Sadhguru has used this word saying Guru Positioning System, right? More, and I think it's a very interesting question. I hope some student has asked this because with the recent last 2 years of development in AI, what has happened is any student in my classroom already thinks that they know more than the teacher. Okay. Because Google was there earlier. Now there is ChatGPT, right? Anything I can ask ChatGPT and it may give a solution that knows more than the teacher itself. Any exam can be written using an AI assistant. So what is the purpose of a teacher? This question is being asked. So far, teachers were just information disseminators, right? They are giving you information. Now I don't need that. That has changed. So AI will take our teachers back to their original purpose of being gurus. They all have to become life coaches, spiritual guides, because information is always going to be available. There is no reason to teach more and more information, give more textbooks. That student already has access to, and it's only increasing. What is more needed is inspiration, not information. Who is going to give inspiration? Only a physical person in the classroom who is a role model, who can talk from their life experience and all from the guru, their gurus, the training that they have received, the Shastric knowledge that they have had. Only that will give inspiration. A chatbot cannot give inspiration, right? Today, what is missing in the classroom is a lack of inspiration. Students have no motivation to study because they believe everything is available. Whenever the job demands it, I will pick it up. Why should I learn about it now? Okay. And why should I learn it from this person? Right? This person doesn't seem. So the purpose of the teachers will go back to our original Gurukul system. We like it or not, they all have to become life and spiritual coaches. And future universities will have only them. They will be lesser of the teachers that we imagine them to be today. That will be less. More and more, and people will come to universities for that. That to take inspiration from these great people and then pick up the information and lead their lives. So AI is taking us there. That is one good part of AI. It is for us as teachers to adapt and become like that.
So that was a very, efficient answer. So we have so many questions, in the flow. I'll just read it on to you one by one. In the past, learners would immerse themselves in guru's life to learn. Now, with education shifting online, how should one adjust their approach?
Yeah, see, this is during COVID, everybody thought that with online education, Zoom, the way we are doing our call today, that will replace classrooms, that will replace universities. But very soon you saw, as soon as COVID ended, everybody wanted to go back to a physical setup. Okay. This is something that we should remember. Zoom is no more the preferred mode unless there is a huge, I mean, in the sense, gap, a distance, and you cannot interact. Only there it happens. So, what I want to say is we are now going back to. I just lost power here, so I switched off my video, but I'll continue. So, what I'm trying to say is that we have to go back and think that we thought that the system which is having what should I say, online education will replace physical education, but that didn't happen. People want to come back in person, particularly undergrad education, which is when students are actually coming into the real world, right? That will continue to be in person. People want that. People want to be around peers. Okay. So if again about the traditional wisdom in modern education, I'll give you what is said in the Mahabharata. It is said in the Shanti Parva, I think so. And I think some of you know about it. How does education happen? It says one fourth happens from your teacher, one fourth happens through your peers or friends, one fourth happens is within you. It only has to come out. And one fourth life will teach you. Okay. So in all these things, there is no online. You have to meet your teacher. One fourth comes from there. One fourth comes from your friends or peers. So you have to meet them. One fourth is within you. It only has to come out. Somebody has to take it out. You talked about the example of Hanuman, right? It has to come out from you. And one fourth life will teach you. Okay. So when life has to teach you, that is also everything is in person. So people have realized that online education is not very complete, right? So I think that will not work. It Physical education will continue to have its demand, at least at the undergraduate level, till the undergraduate level. Maybe masters, PhD, something else, but till undergraduate level, it will all be in person. That is not going away.
Thank you. I have a fifth question. How to influence parents of today who are behind reading, writing, and arithmetic how to shift their mindset towards acceptance of ancient educational practices for their kids?
Okay, so this is yeah, see, parents have somehow made an assumption that ancient education is not professional. See, everybody today is career oriented. We like it or not, right? Now, we may say, no, 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 it is not good, and we may wish many things. But everybody today, when they think about higher education, even school education, people are only think of careers, professions, and all these things. And they somehow feel our knowledge is outdated, right? So, how does this change? What it has to change is one more thing that I feel is changing is the younger generation is more open than the previous generation. So, what we discussed earlier, if you can inspire the younger generation, they will convince their parents. So, for example, if I'm conducting a yoga class, I don't find any opposition from my students as much. Their parents might think, oh, why are you teaching them all this? Rather, teach them Python programming, right? But the student is very open, right? They are very open to these things. So, I'm saying one way to change is convince the students first, they will convince their parents. Secondly, you will have to talk to the parents and tell them that your children might get great jobs and careers, but they will have a very poor life without our education, right? So you might be the richest person, you might have a unicorn, you might make a lot of money, but then what is the point of all that if you are an unhappy person? And there is no other education that has solved the problem of Ananda, as I wrote in my presentation. That only our so this is what appeals to parents. And if you show them examples, how the best of the bureaucrats or the scientists or the businessmen are personally having very broken lives, and tell them that this was missing in them. Nobody wants that for their children. So some amount of fear and some amount of telling them that there is a complete life by having this has to be done. And it is true also. You have to show them role models who have done it and have had very good lives also. Right?
Yes.
So give them those examples and that will inspire them.
Yes, sir, truly. I have one more question. How to influence and inspire teachers to lead a ethical and a, a life that is a role model to the students in today's life?
Yeah, I think that is the bottom line. The core of any education is the faculty or the teachers, right? You can fix the curriculum, you can fix the student's mindset or the parent's mindset, but who is actually there in the classroom, who is the role model is the teachers, right? So a lot has to change. I think a lot has to change right from teacher education itself. See, what should I say? First of all, the best talent of our country is not going into teaching, right? Just in our parents' generation, if you think about it, teachers were highly respected. But today, teachers are not respected. If you go to just maybe, I was speaking from Bangalore, go 50 kilometers away from Bangalore, in the village outside Bangalore, right? The most respected person is no more the headmaster of the local school. It is the richest politician or the richest businessman who's. So society's preferences are changing. Nobody wants to be a teacher, right? People are becoming teachers primarily because it's a government job. If it's a job, then there is no inspiration. It's a job, right? I'm not coming to do anything to, I don't have passion for teaching. So I think society's preferences has to change. We have to celebrate teachers. We have not celebrated teachers. We have celebrated whatever Bollywood actors, sportsmen, businessmen, politicians, bureaucrats. But where are we celebrating teachers? Right? So that celebration of teachers has to happen. So people will think I'll get respect by being a. For example, I'm speaking from Haryana. Here, sports people are appreciated a lot of respect. So maximum medals of India comes from Haryana, right? Because somehow anybody playing kabaddi is also respected. So that type of culture for teachers should happen. Then everybody will want to become an Olympic level teacher, right? They want to become a teacher. That will happen. Curriculum has to change. I mean, the teacher training curriculum has to change. That is very outdated. So I think some of these things have to respect. I think the primary thing is the respect for the teachers has to come. That is the responsibility of organizations like Disha, ours, and even the government in that sense, that teachers should be respected and that respect, like in the earlier times, should come back. Today, education has become a transaction. Teacher has become a service provider. I've given you a fees. You will give me some knowledge and you will give me a degree. It's a transaction. When there's a transaction, there is no respect for the other side. It is not a transaction, right? It is a much higher level of transfer of wisdom, right? But respect for that has to be created.
Yes, sir. Uh, thank you so much for your answers, sir. Thank you so much for your time, especially. It's an honor to have you on a Disha platform, and we wish to have you again and again on a Disha platform, sir. Thank you so much for your enlightening session, and I wish our volunteers had really good time listening to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Disha Bharat, for giving me this opportunity. Always a pleasure. Very interesting topic that you have asked me to talk about. Hopefully, I have had made some sense and I was able to contribute to it. And we'll continue this conversation. You can reach out to me anytime. You can find my details online on the Issued website. I would love to interact with all of you and take this further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. If there are any other questions, I'll just route it back to you, sir, so that we can get the answers from you directly.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
Namaste.
much, sir.
Night.
Thank you. What an enlightening session that was. And we have many more interesting sessions that is coming on a Disha platform. And in the same way, tomorrow at the same time, we have one more session by the speaker Sandeep Balakrishna. He's an eminent author and a columnist on the topic Building Research in Bharat, Lessons from Trials to Triumphs. Please keep in touch and please watch our channel so that you can get access to more and more interesting sessions as today. Thank you so much.